We are live. Welcome. This is Peter Voogd, founder of the prestigious Game Changers Academy. And thanks for tuning into our monthly Millionaire Series, where we interview the world's most elite and successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, entertainers, and game changers, people that I have massive respect for, and people that aren't just making a difference in their industry, but in the world. And we have a special treat for you guys. I have known this person for years. I think it's been like three to 4 years I've known him. Chris Ducker is a best-selling author of Virtual Freedom, which the book changed my life. Youpreneur, which is his new best-selling book, which I'm super excited to dive into today because of the impact it's making. He runs an entrepreneur community that helps experts go from really become the go-to leaders in their fields, no matter what your experience is, and live a life on their terms. Serial entrepreneur, he's built some extremely successful businesses, started in 2004, and today I think is around 450 full-time employees and generates 7 figures annual revenue worldwide. And he can do it on his terms where he can travel. I don't know if there's much traveling going on with 4 kids, but he could travel, right? Keynote speaker, trusted international business mentor, blogger, podcaster, featured in every publication, Entrepreneur, Forbes, Success. And I'm excited because he's a world-class dude first. I've known him for a couple years. He's genuine, and he's really making a massive difference in the entrepreneur world. So I'm excited to dive in, see what he's been up to. So Chris, thanks again, man. I'm excited to add some value to the people.
It's great to be here. You make me sound so good, Pete. Like I don't want to let the team down now. You know what I mean?
I mean, you're a badass. You know that.
Oh, dear. No, it's good to chat with you again. It's been a while.
So let's talk about having 4 kids. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to talk about that yet.
Well, we can do that too if you want.
I want to start with this. You coined this term years ago. I was checking out your book and then some of the reviews, and someone's like, I remember when he first said this word like years ago. It was a game changer for me. Now you've built a whole brand around it. Youpreneur. I want to dive in and share with people what the heck is that? Youpreneur, what does that mean?
Well, Youpreneur is somebody that builds a business, a very profitable business based around them, their experience, their personality, and ultimately the people that they want to serve and then later on sell to, right? So it's people like you and I. It's content creators, mentors, coaches, consultants, speakers, authors, bloggers, podcasters, you name it. Anybody really building a business based around them and what they love doing. Now, look, I've been an entrepreneur for a long, long time, which is clearly why I have no hair left, right? So I can tell you, I've, the peaks and the troughs and, all that kind of, usual analogy for the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial life. I can tell you right now, I've struggled through the majority of my entrepreneurial career to be quote unquote happy doing what I'm doing. I've enjoyed it. I've had, brief moments of sheer satisfaction through, getting from 150 to 200, 200 to 400 employees, to making your first million, to making your second million, to your first 5 mil a year, et cetera, et cetera. I've done it all. And quite frankly, I wasn't that happy a lot of the time. And the moment I coined this phrase in 2014, I realized that this was what I wanted to do for the rest of my career. It's to work with these like-minded people that I truly get, understand, appreciate, and can empathize with. This is what I want to do. And I want to help them build real businesses out of what they know and how they're doing it. And I can honestly say in the last almost 4 years now, since we kind of went live worldwide with the Youpreneur movement and what it stands for, I can honestly say that I've never been happier as an entrepreneur. I get up every single day nowadays with a real bounce in my step. I can't wait. Like you're my first thing today to do. And I woke up.
By the way, there, guys. It's 8 a.m.
It's 8 a.m. over here. I want to clarify that because I'm still based here in the Philippines. I'll be back in the UK soon. But it's 8. I was up an hour and a half ago, ready to rock and roll. Did a little cross training because my wife gets angry with me if I don't exercise every day. I hate exercise, and I'll put it out there. I despise it, but I do it because I've got 4 kids and I want to be around a long time. That's simple. But I really honestly feel that this is the future of the business world. It's youpreneurs. It's game changers. It's people that are genuinely plugged in to society for one reason and one reason only. And that is to show the hell up and help people do great things based on what they know and their experience. And I'm doing it every day. I'm living the dream, literally living the dream right now.
And the world needs more of this. Like, if we want to get real, the world needs more real businesses giving real value and people loving what they do. Not just saying they love what they do, but really they're struggling, but love what they do like you do now. I remember you bringing up the community we're creating a couple of years ago. Me and you talked about it when it was brand new. And to see you this excited and this happy, it's exciting for me too. And that's why I bring up the world needs more people like this, Chris, that just are fired up and excited to help other people achieve their dreams. That's how we're going to shift this culture.
I couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more. And I mean, like, you know, I'm not like at 180 miles an hour every single day, right? Obviously, I get the days where I'm tired or I can't be bothered to work or, you know, whatever the case may be. Like, we all, if anybody ever says to you that, oh man, I just love it, that's BS. I call BS on that. I really do. There are days where I simply just don't want to work. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I didn't sleep good. Maybe the kid was awake all night. Maybe, you know, something happened yesterday that pissed me off so much that it's rolling over into the next day. We all have those moments. But what I am saying is that across the board, day to day, month to month, I'm a very, very happy entrepreneur nowadays because I'm working with my people, and that's important.
I want to clarify this because people hear 450 employees and people that don't have systems or experience, they instantly go, wow, he must be working 600 hours a week because he has all these employees. You have a lifestyle that you've created. You have time for your kids. You want to be around. You have time for your wife. You wake up when you want. You travel. I want people to understand that you have 450 employees and you have an amazing business you've created, but you do what you want on your terms and you have a lifestyle you're inspired by. That is huge. And I want to dive into the systems of that too in a second, but that's admirable, man, to have that many employees and be able to have a lifestyle that you like. That takes some brain power.
It wasn't, yeah, I mean, it wasn't always like that though. Like, I mean, you know my story. Back in 2009, I hit burnout after doing those 15 hours a day, 6 days a week shifts, if you want to call it that, you know, for like 3-4 years trying to grow the business. And it took its toll on me and I burned out, like to the point where I needed back surgery because I was sitting down so much. I was crushing my my lower vertebrae and I had to have back surgery to correct the problem. So, I mean, it hasn't always been like that, but that actually was the catalyst. 2010, that was when I kind of took myself out of the business and wanted to sort of try and become what I was calling a virtual CEO at the time, which still sounds pretty cool. Just want to put it out there. But I mean, like, and I'm a virtual CEO. My facility is, I kid you not, 20 minutes in my car in that direction. And the last time, except for about 2 weeks ago, the last time I was at that facility was in September last year.
I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
Okay. So understand that. Let me clarify it again. 400 plus people, 20 minutes away, 3 floors in a 5-story building, 20 minutes away, and I try and do my best not go anywhere near them because the support system is already there. The management team is already there. Why am I going to turn up and mess it all up? They have their, you know, their work in hand. They know what they're doing. And I've always said that I'm a pretty crappy manager. I don't claim to be a great manager at all, but what I can do is lead. I'm a good leader. And so, you know, I just hire great management to manage the business for me and run the business for me day to day. I truly am an owner and not a CEO when it comes to that large company. And that's exactly the way I like it.
So you say you don't want to mess things up, but I see a lot of entrepreneurs, Chris, that think if they don't go in and take control of everything, then things get messed up, but they have that backwards and that's why they have no freedom. So can we, and I have some specific questions, but I'm going down this hole because I think there's a lot of people thinking.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So how'd you remove yourself? And what was the first, if you had to simplify to the first couple steps, and I know you talk about this in your book, how'd you remove yourself and start creating systems? Was it finding the right leaders? Was it one key leader, then another leader? What's kind of the process if someone maybe has, whether it's 10 employees or 30 employees, how to slowly remove themselves and take control where they're not thinking like the CEO where they have to always be there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, like, but understand that when I took myself out of the business, it was 8 years ago. Okay, so it was eight years ago. It's a long time ago. We only had about 130 or so people working for us at that point. And throughout the course of 2010, I hired 8 people to replace me. So that just shows you how thinly spread I was in the business, right? It also shows you exactly how much of a micromanager I was as well. Like, I had no right managing the IT department. I don't know what the hell I'm doing in a server room. Like, I'll walk in. I like it because it's really well air conditioned. I'll go in there and walk around and look at all the little flashing lights, but I've got no idea what's going on. Why am I interviewing every single potential candidate for our company? There was no need for me to do that. I should have been doing final interviews, not initial interviews. Why am I doing all the training? I can train a couple of people to be the trainers in my company. Why am I doing all of the biz dev? Because I can sell? Yes, I can sell. But there's other people out there that can sell as well. So honestly, this was what my life was like. I was wearing all these different hats, as a lot of entrepreneurs do when they get started. And it ended up with me in the hospital for 2 weeks on liquids and suffering from depression, acutely exhausted, acutely dehydrated, and all the rest of it. And, now, it's a whole different ballgame. Now, I will say that was 8 people in 2010. The management team now is 24 people. But that also encompasses the Lift to Sell group, which is the big call center facility. Then we have Virtual Staff Finder, which is our recruitment hub, as you know. And then we have youpreneur.com, which is the personal brand education company, right? So those 3 businesses are run by 24 managers with obviously everybody else, underneath them doing what they're doing. And that's the way it's run today.
So if you were talking to like a newer entrepreneur, obviously they can't go from this to this in a second because it took you years.
No. This is why I pointed out very clearly it was an 8-year period.
I want people to understand that this didn't happen overnight. It's consistent progress, trying to better his best, trying to consistently remove himself as well. Now, one thing you're doing really well, among a lot of other things, is target audience and target market. I see a lot of people trying to be everything for everybody, and they're confused why people aren't biting or building their brand. You said at the beginning of the call, you said a youpreneur, someone who builds a brand for the right audience that most is connected to them, they give the most value to, that want their product service program. So what are some steps we can take or questions we can ask to make sure we define who the heck our target audience is?
Well, this is where a lot of people get it wrong, Pete, right? They're worried about that. They shouldn't be worried about that at the start of everything. What they should be worried about is, who are they? What are they going to be doing? Who are they going to be working with? How are they going to be working? What are they going to be helping people with? What do they want to be known for within the industry? And really, the big kind of encompassing question here is, how are people going to talk about me when I'm not around? Like, that's your brand. That's your reputation. So when you're not at the conference, or when you're not at the coffee meeting, or when you're not at the dinner party, when you're not at the networking breakfast, when you're not around, how do you want people to talk about you? Now, a lot of people take that question quite literally, right? They say, well, I want people to say that I'm a nice person, that I help them. No, I mean, you can be a nice guy and help people, but it's much better to try and get like super niched down, as far niched down as you possibly can. So when people talk about me, and I just literally just ask this question. So I practice what I preach. So I have a high-end inner circle mastermind group, which is called the Round Table. Obviously, I'm a Brit, therefore I am King Arthur, and I have my 12 knights as part of the Round Table. Now, this is 25 grand a year they pay to work with me in person for 2 days, 3 times a year, and then we get on a 90-minute call twice a month. This is where there's no other way to get this much access to me and my experience and my brain as a mentor and as a coach. This is it, right? So these are the high-end 5% of my client base, okay? And I recently asked them what they or how they thought about me when I wasn't around. And I was so happy with the feedback, because they came back with exactly what I want people to talk about me when I'm not around. No BS, tells it how it is, super experienced, wealth of knowledge, proud Brit, whiskey and bourbon, Union Jacks, everything that I stand for. Everything that I stand for as an entrepreneur and as a man, as a person, they were just dropping them, one word, one phrase after another. So I know that I have truly figured out who I am and what I want to be known for. I want to be known as the guy that can help you put real money in your pocket based on your experience, right? I don't help people build personal brands. I help them build personal brand businesses. And there lies the big difference there, right? So the first question is, what do I want to be known for? Once you define who you are and what you stand for and how you are going to help people, you can then go on to the next step, which is figuring out the types of people that you actually want to work with. And this is where you niche it down, or you niche it down even further, right? So you could say, well, let's use an analogy of like a basketball coach, right? I'm a hoops guy, go Celtics. We're having a great season, off to a good start in the playoffs right now. I'm the only Brit you'll meet that prefers basketball over football, or soccer, as you guys call it, right?
You said that.
Oh, yeah. No, I've scared Americans before, sitting at dinner tables with them, just dropping history bombs on them from like the Celtics from like the 60s and stuff like that. They're like,
awesome.
holy crap, what's going on here? Yeah. So, so to use that as an analogy, I want to be known as a great basketball coach. Okay, but now you've got all these players that you've got to try and speak the language to. You've got to try and speak the center language. You've got to try and speak the forward language, the shooting guard language, the point guard language. It's too much. So how about we niche it down? I want to be the best basketball coach of point guards. I want to be known as the #1 point guard coach. So you're going to teach the guy how to read the floor. You're going to teach a guy how to feed, how to read picks, how to do all those things that point guards have to do, right? So that's much better than just saying, I want to be a basketball coach. All right. You know, much, much better. Another example. I want to be known as a no BS kind of business coach. Okay. Well, all right. Now we're getting to it a little bit. No BS is good, but who are you going to be helping? You can't help every entrepreneur on the planet. Niche it down. Okay, well, I want to be known as the no BS business coach to people in the health and fitness space. Boom. Now we're talking. Can we go even further down? Well, I want to be known as the no BS business coach for people in the fitness space who focus on rehabilitation for people who are recovering from back surgery. Oh my God, let's go even further down. Now, this is the problem here, right? A lot of people think that when they niche down like that, they're going to be minimizing the amount of money that they can make. And I call a huge amount of BS on that. If anything, you'll make more money because it's going to become, it will become way easier for you to be known as the no BS business coach for people recovering from back surgery in the fitness space than it will be for just something more broader, right? It'll become much, much easier for you to be known for that. And I mean, we're talking, you know, press banging on your door, radio interviews, TV interview. I mean, you name it. I mean, I work with people that are regularly asked in by people like CNN and Al Jazeera and all those guys who, you know, they're known for very specific things. One of my clients just recently was on This Morning Britain a little while ago to talk about the whole Facebook data breach thing, because she's known as a Facebook ads specialist for small business owners in a very particular niche back in the UK. And so I think it's very important to understand not only who you're talking to, but also what you want them to be talking about you when you're not around.
That's so huge. And I want people to understand. This took me a while to figure out, Chris. And once I got it, I realized it not only gave me more leverage, but marketing's easier, positioning's easier. You can charge more. It's easier to become a celeb. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's more effective to become a celebrity in your space when you're niche down. Is that kind of what you're saying? Once you figure that out,
Absolutely.
Everything else becomes easier. And you talk about this too, marketing, advertising, branding, positioning, things like that. So that's huge. Narrowing
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, this is the stuff that gets me excited, quite frankly, because it's, for me, it's about, you know, once I realize somebody knows who they are and what they want to be known for, I'm all in, man. Like I will work real hard to make sure that they become incredibly, incredibly successful. And, you know, it hasn't been easy for me as well. I mean, like, you know, I've had to pivot a couple of times. I've had to, you know, look at what I'm doing and what people are saying about me. But it's certainly over the last few years has become much easier for me to be able to do things like get press. And, you know, like I've had three book offers from publishers in the last couple of years, and I turned them all down because I always said that my second book was going to be self-published so that I could completely control the entire, you know, procedure. The first time round went great. Virtual Freedom did brilliantly. But it was a complete nightmare from a management perspective. I had no real say over anything at all. But with Rise of the Youpreneur, I always said, you know what, I'm going to self-publish this thing. I need that control. But no, it hasn't been easy all the time. But what I will say is that if you're focused on working with the right people, it becomes a lot easier to not only find those right people, but also keep them attracted to you and what you're all about. And the analogy I use on this is market like a magnet. So we'll get down to the nitty gritty here. When you market like a magnet, what happens is you attract, just like a magnet does, you attract the exact type of prospects, the exact type of people that you want to work with and that you want to have in your community and your tribe. But at the very, very same time, you're repelling away the people that you should not be surrounding yourself with, the people that are time wasters or are never going to put their hand in their pocket and spend any money with you, or even worse, spend some money with you and on day 29 of the 30-day guarantee period, ask for their money back. You know those kind of people.
I want to dive into that.
Need those people.
Me and you both got pretty passionate before this call about pushing people away, because I love that. And it makes you, I mean, it's the best thing to do for everybody around you in your community and yourself and your peace of mind. How are you creating the systems to push people away? And can you explain, Chris, the importance of not accepting everybody, being more exclusive, and making sure that you have a niche where the right people display themselves to you versus chasing everybody? Let's kind of dive into that, because I know we're both pretty
sure. Well, I think the self-awareness is an important part here, and I don't want to start sounding like Gary too much, because he talks about self-awareness way better than anybody else. But I think that being self-aware is incredibly important in terms of what movement you're trying to create for yourself, right? Like Youpreneur, when I wrote Rise of the Youpreneur, for example, I was very specific with the wording on that title and on the subtitle of the book. Like I worked weeks and weeks on it. We tested on Facebook ads, the title of the book, for almost a month. I mean, we spent probably $1,000 just testing the title of the book. So Rise of the Youpreneur, it's a call to action. It's rise up. It's time to rise up, right? So I was very deliberate and I was very self-aware with that. And I do believe that when you get the opportunity to work with the type of people that you truly want to work with, everything becomes so much easier, which is the exact reason why we need to push those wrong people away. And actually, the easiest way to do this, there's no real system in place, I don't think. It's more along the lines of like taking what we're very, very aware of in regards to our strengths and what we want to be known for, and then kind of coupling it together with whatever we do to market our business. So, for example, if I want to attract authors to youpreneur.com, because I know I can help them not only market their book, but monetize what's in it. If I want to attract authors, I have to be very deliberate with the type of content that I create for the next month. So I'll do like an entire month of just creating content, both from a blog, a video, and a podcasting perspective, all about becoming an author, writing your first book, figuring out how to market it. How do you launch it? How do you put it into maintenance marketing mode, or 3M as I call it? Like all these things, right? And so I think just becoming like really, really aware of what you're creating from a content creation perspective is key, because that's what is going to attract the people. You know, like if you do a post, let's talk about niching down again. If you do a blog post, 5 ways to become a more productive entrepreneur. There are a gazillion of those posts out there, right? And you will get a lot of traffic if it gets linked well on Google, or if it gets shared well on Twitter, whatever, right? 5 ways to become a more productive entrepreneur. But what if I was to write 5 ways to become a more productive business coach, or a more productive public speaker, or a more productive content creator? Like now I'm niching things down a little bit, where if you're just an entrepreneur that runs a pig farm somewhere, or, a wine club or whatever, you're not going to be interested in clicking on that link to go visit how to become a more productive business author, for example, right? But if you are a business author and you've written a business book and you want to get it into the hands of more people and become more productive, you're more likely to click on that and then go ahead and obviously enjoy the content, maybe get onto my email list, attend one of my live events, buy my own book, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's no real system, Pete. I think it's just being really aware of the type of content that you're putting out into the world, and trying not to make it so broad. Like write for your avatar, create content for Bob, for Mildred, for, whatever. Like, I
Is
don't
that
know
a
why
real name, Mildred?
Mildred. Well, I don't know why my grandparents' names just literally popped into my head.
So funny.
Was
I've
Robert.
never heard that Mildred. So I was like, is that a UK name? Is that a Philippines name?
Mildred is a UK. It's a very old school lady's name, Mildred. I mean, we're talking like pre-war. It was all about pre-World War II. Or funny. Millie, as my granddad used to call her, Millie. But no, I mean, like in all the interviews I've done in the last 10 years online, I've never brought up my grandparents before. That's
I had to say something because I've never heard that name. I'm like,
oh my God. But like, what I'm saying is, like, be aware of who you're creating the content for. If you do that all the time, those are the people that will find you. If you're too broad, then you're going to get a whole bunch of people coming your way. And trust me, they will suck your time. They will thieve on your oxygen. I'm telling you that right now.
They usually take the most time too.
Right. And I like this one. Can I pick your brain? No, you can't. I like my brain just how it is. I don't need it picked apart by somebody who's never going to spend any money with me. Call me a selfish bastard, but that's generally the way I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that I have a lot of experience to share with the world. And I know that we live in a time where people are more likely and happier than ever to pay to access and download that experience so that they can fast track their own growth. I'm well aware of that fact. I'm a business owner, and I know that I'm worth what I get paid when it comes to coaching and mentoring people. That's not being me, me being pig-headed. That's just me being very self-aware. And that's the power behind that self-awareness.
100%. And you're not saying, you said that's me being selfish. Maybe, no, it's not. It's you valuing your family and valuing your time and valuing who you are and the years you put into this craft. And I'm getting to that as well. And the number one thing I think people like us, and especially you, value is our time. And the number one thing people usually ask us for when they reach out is our time. They're not strategic. If they would even say, hey, Chris, I bought your book. I've reviewed it on Amazon. I actually bought 10 copies for my friends. I followed you. I shared your message with some of my audience. It's not as big as yours, but I love what you're all about. I'd love to get 1 minute. That's a little bit better chance. Or even saying I already paid for your services than someone saying, hey, can I pick your brain? And not doing anything of value first. So that's such a game changer. And I want people to understand, I don't even know if you noticed, but he's very articulate in everything he does with his content, with the articles he puts out, with the copy. I know he's said to be articulate, but you notice how he's doesn't sometimes, when you say that you tested one Facebook title or one book title on Facebook and it costs $1,000, most entrepreneurs don't even get to that level. They're not even thinking about testing and spending that much money, but you're understanding the attention to detail, the testing, and actually becoming aware of who your target audience is. So I was just talking about this, Chris. It's obvious that certain people are successful for a reason. So when I see you crushing it, making 7 figures, having the life of your dreams, it is obvious to me why. I want people to understand it is obvious when you see people succeeding, and you need to figure out why it's obvious. You're spending $1,000 testing. I've never done that. So that specificity is so important. You know what I mean? Let
me tell you why. Yeah, and I love the fact that you're pointing it out and you're aware of it, right? Because a lot of people, it just goes right over their head, zoom, right? But let me tell you why we did that. Youpreneur is a made-up word, right? And a lot of people, I mean, you've got the word preneur in there, so you kind of know that it's got something to do with entrepreneurship, I guess. But it's a made-up word. And even though the domain name was not available when I wanted it, and I had to pay more than I wanted for it, I did get it though, because I always get what I want.
Do you think someone did that for you? That'd be funny.
No, dude, it was registered. It was registered like 10 years ago by this guy, and he sat on it. And he sat on it. He never created any content. He never put a website up. He never did anything at all. And he did it like 10 years ago, and he never did anything with it. And so when I reached out to him, this is funny. I reached out to him. If anybody's ever done this, and I'm sure some of your audience has, someone else has got a domain name that you want, you have to reach out to them to see whether they're going to sell it to you, plain and simple, right? So I reach out to the guy, and I'm like, I'm interested in buying youpreneur.com. First of all, I couldn't find him on the Who Is, right? So you do a Who Is search. I couldn't find him because his privacy thing was up or whatever. So I had to try and find him, and I found him. Eventually, I found the guy via LinkedIn, of all freaking places, LinkedIn,
What?
right? So I reach out to the guy on LinkedIn, and I'm like, I'm interested in buying youpreneur.com from you. If you would sell it, like, let me know how much you'd sell it for. I'd be interested in having a conversation. So he came back to me and he's like, yeah, 25 grand.
Did he really say that? He probably looked you up and knew you had money too. That's funny.
Dude, it's so funny. I mean, what? After I picked myself up off the floor, I replied to him and I said, well, I'll offer you $500 for it. Right, like due to the fact that you've sat on it for a decade, I can see the history. You've got no asset, you've got no traffic, you've got like, are you high? Like, are you actually high right now? 25 grand. So we ended up actually at a couple of grand. But with that being said, I was happy to pay for it because once I set my mind to it, no other word was going to work. You know what I mean? So the reason why we tested the title so much was because I was worried that the word would stop us from selling as many copies of the book as it probably should sell because it's a made-up word. Nobody's heard of it before. So we really tested it, and we tested it with cold audiences, with warm audiences, with people on my email lists. You can retarget on Facebook and everything. And long story short, it was a clear winner with my existing client, like my existing readership, listenership, et cetera, et cetera. On the cold audience side of things, it was a 50-50 split between that and another title that didn't even have the word youpreneur in it. And so we took the gamble and we said, you know what? It's a 50-50 split with the cold guys. It's like an all-out winner with everybody that knows me and what I'm all about. So we'll just go ahead and we'll put it in the title. So Rise of the Youpreneur was the title of the book. In the first 5 weeks, and I say 5 weeks and not 4 weeks, but in the first 5 weeks, we launched it the last week of February. And through to the end of March, we sold just under 5,000 copies of the book. So clearly we made the right decision.
Love it. That's huge. And doing that testing allows you to be a little more flexible and things like that. So I love that. So revenue streams and building a brand. Now, have you had a lot of people reach out? Because I want to help the ambitious ones, like the ones on this call that really want to build a lifestyle on their terms and impact people and become a youpreneur and really step up, like you say. What are some of the revenue streams if they maybe want to go from brick and mortar to online, or they want to finally start building something that they have a little bit of scalability in? What are some different revenue streams and models that you've used or that you've seen really work well?
Well, when people first start kind of tackling the idea of monetization, they dream up all these kind of delusions of grandeur, quite frankly, about how they're going to make $1 million and all this sort of type of thing. I need to pull people back at that point because it doesn't happen overnight. We always say the overnight success is a minimum of 10 years coming, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm a big believer that low-hanging fruit should be picked quickly, right? You don't leave low-hanging fruit on the tree. You jump up and you grab it and you pick it every single time, particularly when you're starting out. I still pick low-hanging fruit right now whenever I get the opportunity to do it. And I'm not starting out. I'm well on my journey, right? So I truly believe that low-hanging fruit should be the starting point for everyone. And when we talk about selling, services or products based around our experience and our personality, like I said earlier, people are happy to pay for access to download that experience more so than ever before in the history of life. Plain simple. So what do? You start selling your time. Now, I know it's not scalable. But it's the easiest way to, 1, monetize your experience, 2, validate the interest that people that are following you are going to have in working with you and learning from you, and 3, obviously, at the end of the day, you're starting to put money in the pocket of your business so that you can then go ahead, reinvest it in employees and systems and software and whatever else you need to be able to grow it. So, you start coaching, you start consulting. You can also start potentially public speaking. Although at first you might not get a lot of money when it comes to speaking, further down the line, you will be paid quite well. But honestly, the easiest way to start monetizing is by selling you. It's your time. I will say the biggest error, the biggest mistake that people make here above and beyond everything else is that they don't charge what they're worth. So I always say, Charge what you're worth and don't apologize. People do that. They do that, by the way. So how much is your rate per hour? Well, it's $2,000 an hour. And I'm sorry, I can't go any lower. What the hell are you saying sorry for? You're worth $2,000 an hour. Charge what you're worth and don't apologize. Plain simple. Now, obviously, you've got to take into consideration what level of experience you have and the type of person that you're trying to attract. They might not be able to afford $2,000 an hour. You might not be worth $2,000 an hour, quite frankly. But if Mark Cuban or, you know, Damon John or one of the other sharks turn around and says, hey, I'm available all day on Tuesday. I'm doing 30-minute sessions for $3,000 every 30 minutes. If anybody's interested, come down. Of course, I'm going to go hang out with one of them for 30 minutes for $3,000. I'll get one idea out of that conversation. I'll turn it into $500,000 in the next 18 months, right? So that's all it takes. Understand that. So monetize first up your experience, your time, and then obviously you can go to the next level, which are things like affiliate marketing, and understand that when you are suggesting that people buy products and services, make them relevant to whatever it is, whatever problems you're solving for them, right? Or make sure that you're using them personally yourself. Okay, really important. You should never promote or sell anything as an affiliate marketer or anything else for that matter, unless you can fully stand behind that product, right? Another way to be able to monetize is by creating info products. So downloadable courses, audio course, video course, whatever it is. Let's say you've been, you know, a professional swim coach for the last 10 years, and you want to put together, you know, a 10-module video course for parents to teach their kids how to swim, okay? There's a lot of parents that would love to teach their kids how to swim, but they don't really know. I mean, they know how to swim, but they don't know how to teach their kids how to swim. And so at the end of the day, it'll come down to, you know, figuring out exactly how you're going to be able to put that experience into videos that are easily downloadable, easily watched, and so on and so on and so on. And so, you know, you put that up and it's $500 and it's there. It's in your ecosystem. We call it the Youpreneur ecosystem. It's in your ecosystem forever. It goes into your autoresponder. You talk about it on stage. You talk about it on your podcast, on your YouTube show, whatever it is. And you're consistently bringing up whatever it is that you've monetized as a way to be able to solve somebody's problem or answer somebody's questions, right? And you've got other things like, you know, live events, masterminds. The first dollar I ever made in monetizing my own expertise was a roundtable mastermind in 2011. So I sat down with 8 other people.
King Arthur, you and your roundtables.
Dude, you know, the funny thing is, I look when I wanted to name my inner circle mastermind, I wasn't going to call it the inner circle because other people have done that. That's boring. And so I thought back and I kept going back to, well, we all sit around this round table and blah, blah. And then it hit me. Oh, my gosh. And I'll tell you who actually came up with the idea. You want to know who came up with the idea? My 9-year-old kid.
Sometimes they have the best ones, I've heard.
We were sitting watching Merlin, which was a British TV show. We were watching it on Netflix. And I think we just finished like the 3rd season or whatever it was. And I actually involved my kids quite a bit in the business. That we always talk about it around the dinner table and stuff like that. And when me and my wife were brainstorming over a cup of coffee one morning on the weekend, we were saying, like, you know, what are we going to call it? What are we going to call it? And I kept saying this thing, you know, we sit around a round table and we spend time. And he turned around and he said, hey, Daddy, the round table, just like King Arthur and Merlin and Percival and all these guys. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, this kid has just nailed it. This is great. So now the members of the round table actually call themselves they call themselves Chris's Knights. That's what they call themselves. I love it. I think it's great. So, you know, round table discussions, masterminds, seminars, workshops, even bigger events. So every year now in November, I host the Youpreneur Summit in London, which is a huge conference. Last year, we had almost 400 people from 37 countries around the world. I bring in speakers from all over. And we brainstorm and we learn and we hang out and we network for an entire weekend. If anybody's interested, then go to youpreneursummit.com. It happens every single November. And so these are all the different things that I've done to monetize my expertise and my business model. And I will say, let me kind of paint the bigger picture here so people can get excited about this stuff. I know that 50% of the people at that conference are coming for the conference. Okay. I had several people come up to me at the conference and say, I've never heard of you before. You know, one of my friends mentioned the event and that she was going, or I saw it on a Facebook ad or whatever, and it looked kind of cool. And it's in London. Nothing ever happens in the UK. We got to go to America for these events. I thought I'd come along. I'd never heard of you before. But you know what? You're my new favorite. You're my new favorite. And we want to become somebody's favorite podcaster or mentor or coach or public speaker or whatever, right? We want to become somebody's favorite. When we've done that, we've won all out. We've won. We've accomplished what we wanted to accomplish, and that is being top of mind in that person's world when it comes to learning whatever it is that they want to learn from somebody, right? So I know 50% of the people at that conference have never heard of me before, and I'm absolutely fine with that because now I've got 50% of that room ready to learn from me, ready to be dazzled by my brilliance, and to ultimately convert into my ecosystem, whether it be becoming a member of the Youpreneur community or buying some of my products or attending a private mastermind or, you know, becoming a member of the round table, becoming a knight, you know, all these things that it's just one big lead magnet for me. But it's even better than a lead magnet because I'm bringing other people together for the first time as well. And they go away with new business partners, new friends, maybe even new lovers, who knows, right? So I think it's really important to understand that there really are no limits to what you can do to monetize your expertise and your personality. What really is going to limit you from doing it is you. And that's why we call it Youpreneur. It's all down to you. You call the shots. It's up to you how you do this, how you market it, how you grow it. It's up to you, the type of people that you want to attract. This is why I call it the last pivot you'll ever make in your career. I don't care what you've done up to this point. You make this last pivot with me, you will never have to. You will future-proof your business. You'll future-proof your income because, like I said, people are more inclined to pay for access to other people's experience to fast-track their own success than ever before in the history of business.
Huge. I love that. Thanks for really diving deep into that. And let's dive in right before we end. I have one more question for you regarding the following. We talked about mistakes people make. I think the millennial generation is so obsessed with the following and having a lot of fans, but very few actually know how to monetize. And it's not about following equaling anything if you don't know how to monetize. So do you have explain your philosophy on that? Because you said a lot of people, you've seen that issue in the marketplace. How can people not just create a following of people that maybe love them, but actually monetize so they can live a great lifestyle and continue to give access to the right people that prove to invest in themselves?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's no point in having 10,000 people on your email list or 50,000 people following you on Instagram or 100,000 following you on Twitter. There's no point in any of that as a business owner unless you're monetizing it in some capacity, right? And the way that you do that is you start getting people to take small action steps. So, for example, on Instagram, I'll post a picture of myself sitting behind this microphone. And I'm like, hey, I just batched a whole month's supply of podcasts. I'm invigorated right now. Do you guys batch your content? Let me know, let me know below. I want to engage them. Once I start engaging them, and then I might go on Instagram stories. Instagram, by the way, I'm all in on Instagram right now. It's without a doubt the biggest social media platform for me in terms of interaction and all the rest of it. So I might go on Instagram. I'll grab my phone and I'll be like, "Hey guys, I just finished this great interview with Pete. If you've heard of him before, let me know. Just vote right below, yes or no. Just vote." And now I know who's voted. And you know what I do? I reach out to them. Quick 10, 15-second videos on Instagram. "Hey, Mike, thanks very much for voting. It's good that you know Pete, but if you didn't, you should go check him out." You know, that kind of thing. That kind of interaction is huge. So there's no point having all these numbers and these vanity metrics behind your platforms online unless you're engaging with them in the right way. You're marketing like a magnet, attracting the best, repelling the rest. That's a tweetable right there. You know, and you're doing all these things. There's no point in doing it. Like my 20-year-old daughter, I got a message from her. Talk about the millennial crowd. My 20-year-old daughter, I got a message from her about 2 weeks ago, and she's like, "OMG, Dad!" Exclamation mark. So I'm thinking there's something like wrong, like what's happened? So I call her up and say, hey, what's the matter? What's the problem? What's going on? She goes, OMG, how did you get the little blue tick on Instagram? Like, I didn't even know that I'd been verified on Instagram. I had no idea. She noticed it, but I didn't, because I was too busy pushing out content to attract the right people and interact with them. But there again, she is looking at my Twitter, my follower account, the fact that I got this little blue tick. I don't even know when I got it. I've got no idea when I even had it. I could have had it for a month and I wouldn't have even noticed, seriously. So it's kind of like, these are the things that I think the younger entrepreneurial crowd, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's a different mentality. You know, the millennial crowd it's a different mentality. I'm an old guy. I'm an old school dude. It is what it is. I'm grumpy when I want to be grumpy. I'm upfront when I want to be upfront, but I'll always tell you how it is. And here's my message to the millennial crowd when it comes to social media. It doesn't matter. I'd rather have 100 people and be unverified following me like a magnet, where they're just attracted to every single post that I put out. They comment on everything. They like everything. They share everything. They click on every link. They buy every product. They attend every event. I'd rather have 100 people. You know, Kevin Kelly talked about 1,000 true fans. No, 100. You can build $1 million business on having 100 really, really big raving fans. Not 1,000. You don't need 1,000. You can do it on 100. So understand they're just numbers. And the very big majority of them are not even paying attention to what you're doing. But the ones that are, they're the ones you've got to interact with. So you find ways to be able to figure out who the ones are that are actually paying attention, and you interact with those guys. Forget about the rest.
A lot of you guys need to hear this. So you heard it first from Chris Ducker as well. And people have already asked about your book, youpreneur.com/book. You can check it out. And I wouldn't just read it, I would master it. And it's very actionable, to where I don't want you to move on until you've got some results and took it some action as well. And if you could simplify it, Chris, future-proofing your business to where if there's 5,000 businesses that come about in the next month or two from millennials, which is my demographic, or anybody, how can they be the 5% that rise above the noise, that make a great life for themselves, build a life on their terms? Future-proofing your business is what your book talks about, which is amazing. Any last words on how anyone that's watching that's serious can really future-proof their business to where in 5, 10, 30 years, they've really built a legacy that they're proud of for them and their family?
Sure. Well, first of all, if you want to be proud of your business, you've got to do great things. It's not just about making money. It's about making change in the people that you come into contact with. I want to affect as much change in my people's lives as physically possible. So focus on two things. Number one, answering questions in abundance. And number two, providing amazing solutions to people's problems. If you do those two things, you'll have a business forever. There's no doubt about it. But I will leave with two other bits of info and maybe a little bit of motivation here. Number one, be you all the time. You are the unique factor in this business model. It's called youpreneur for a reason. When you build the business of you, regardless of what niche or industry you're in, it's 100% original and it cannot be copied because you're the unique factor. And then number two, be consistent. No matter what you're doing, be consistent. If you're going to start a podcast, make sure you show up every single Friday, every single week. You can't just skip a week or two because you don't feel like recording. If you're going to say that you're going to start a mastermind call group and you go 4, 5, 6 weeks and then you get tired and bored of it, that's not going to work either. You got to be consistent and you're going to show up for your people over and over and over and over again. And that's how you future-proof yourself and your business.
Well, man, I appreciate you for being a world-class dude, an amazing dad, and just a business leader in this industry that's really crushing it right now. Instagram, Chris Ducker, guys, we'll link them below. youpreneur.com/book. I would strongly, strongly recommend checking all of his content out. It's extremely actionable. And some of the content he shared has changed my life and just in a humble way has made me a lot of money. So I appreciate that as well, Chris. And thanks
you,
again. And anyway, so Instagram, Twitter, you're easy to find. youpreneur.com/book. Anything else you want to share of what you're doing?
Doubt it. I mean, obviously, my own online home is over at chrisducker.com. I wouldn't be much of a personal brand entrepreneur if I didn't have my own domain name, right? So if they want to read my blog or listen to my show or whatever, then chrisducker.com is the way to go.
I realize this. There's a lot of people that are parents out there that are struggling business, family. What's one piece of advice for them? You're managing a family, 4 kids, employees. What's one piece of advice on how to be a world-class parent, period? Like when you run a business too.
Well, so like I said, I involve my kids in my business. I want them to know what I do and how I do it and what I'm doing. Like my kid knows that, you know, my youngest kid, because obviously I've got 2 older kids that are very, you know, they get it. They stay away when I'm working and stuff. But my younger kid, my boy Charlie, he's 9, he's almost 10. He knows that if he walks up to my office door and he can hear my voice, he knows I'm on a call or I'm being interviewed or something like that. He won't even knock on the door. He'll just turn right around and walk away. Like he gets it because I've had to tell him this is what I do. And when I'm zoned in on an interview, I need to be, you know, I can't have distractions and things like that. We talk about business all the time at the dinner table. This is the biggest tip that I can give parents who want to incorporate their kids into their business world in some way, shape, or form, even if it's just that the kids understand what they do and how they do it. We talk about business all the time at the dinner table. Like I was putting him to sleep. I just finished reading a Paddington Bear book for him. I put him to sleep a couple of weeks ago. And as I'm just about to walk out of the door, he turns around and he says to me, "Daddy, what's a refund policy?"
What?
He's 9. Well, he's in bed. He's about to go to bed. He's at Paddington Bear. What's a refund policy? We talked about it at dinner that night. It had been on his brain for the last few hours, and eventually he asked the question. And so what did I do? I didn't say, "I'll talk about it tomorrow. It's time to hit the sack. Go to bed, buddy," and close the door. No, I walked back up to the bed. I sat down and I spent 5 minutes talking to him about refund policies, which clearly put him to sleep perfectly, right? So, you know, I think that being a great parent and being a great entrepreneur, there's no see, the thing that gets me is people try and separate those worlds, and you shouldn't. You should actually bring them together. There is no real work-life balance. They amalgamate into each other, and you shouldn't create friction around that. You should just accept it and bring them together at every available opportunity. And so I think my biggest tip for parents that want to bring their kids or have their kids understand the business more is to talk to them about their business. I don't care what age a kid is at, whether they're 5 or 15, they're smarter than us parents think that we are. Always. They're always smarter than we think they are. And, you know, he's 9. He's asking about frigging refund policies. I mean, clearly,
show everyone
inquisitive
your cup.
mind.
Show everyone your cup.
Oh, my cup?
Yeah, I love your cup.
This is my favorite coffee mug. I love it. And this is a coffee mug that somebody gave me. One of my friends over in the US gave me this mug a few years ago. And now whenever somebody that I know well becomes a dad for the first time, I gift the very same mug to them every time. So I think I've given about 7 or 8 of them out in the last couple of years.
Love it, man. I'm expecting mine when I have a kid. I don't know when that's going to be.
There you go. Yeah, you need to get going with that. You need to get with the program.
That's funny. I appreciate it, man. But once again, thanks for all you do. Thanks for who you are, what you stand for. And I'm excited to continue to build our relationship in the future as well, man.
You know it, my man. I'm looking forward to it.
Appreciate it. We'll talk soon.